Loving local. I love this quote here. Serve the kind of food you know the story behind. I talked here last night, and before I talked, I grabbed some chicken fingers and fries. And it occurred to me as I was finished eating these chicken fingers, C minus, that I had no idea what the story was with these things. I didn't know where they came from. I had no idea of what the story was behind the food I just put in my body. The food that my body is now going to use as fuel, and that it's going to rely on to keep me healthy and to keep me growing. And so it's a big deal. But when you grow your own food, you know that story. And that's the fuel behind this trend number 4, which is the idea of localism, the idea of growing food and consuming food that's on a local level, whether it's grown in your own backyard or whether it's from the farmer's market. You go to farmer's market, you talk to the farmers there, or the little greenhouse owners, or the Hutterites, or whoever it is. You're talking to the producer. You're talking to them, and you're understanding where that food's coming from. And it's so important because then that's food we can trust. You know, there's not much you can tell me about a commercial food chain now that's going to surprise me. But you grow it yourself, you can trust it, you know what's there. Which brings me to local versus organic, because this is a question I get asked a lot, is the assumption that because it's local, it must be organic. Let me tell you something. I go to the farmer's market, and I see their broccoli. They got these big, beautiful heads of broccoli, right? Not a wormhole in them. And I'm looking at this broccoli, and I'm thinking of my broccoli at home, and I'm like, no way is that organic, right? Because, you know, in Europe, cruciferous vegetables, broccoli leaves, what have you, with wormholes in them are sold at a premium. They're sold higher than uneaten greens because they're guaranteed organic. And so the high-end restaurants, you're going to have holes in your broccoli leaves. And so local means it's grown close by. But they might have used chemicals or pesticides or what have you. Organic means it's grown without the use of synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, the seed wasn't treated, etc., etc. Oftentimes, organic food is imported, and local food isn't organic. So this is a big debate. I won't get into it today, but it's a big debate between people in the environmental world about which is really better for the earth, you know, to grow something without chemicals and spend the fuel to get it here, or to put chemicals on something and just eat it right off. Native plants are getting so popular right now, and there's 2 possible reasons for native plants getting popular. The first is that they're better for the planet, and we all want to do our part. The second is that we're lazy. I'm not sure which one. I think I'm more number 2. My yard is full of native plants, and I love them because you put them in there, you forget about them. If it's a bad drought, give them some water. It's all good. You don't have to winterize them, and they attract all this wonderful biodiversity. You know, you see these plants, this Gaillardia, this yarrow, they're shaggy buggers. You know, they're messy at the base. And, you know, you look at that, oh, that's messy, things like that. You know what's living in there? Ground beetles, spiders, ladybugs, spiders. You know spiders eat more meat than humans do? Wrap your head around that for a minute. They eat more meat than we do. That's how many bugs they eat. And so when you plant natives, you're creating home for this kind of army to move in and defend your garden. Which brings me to bugs and the idea of balance. So if you see a few aphids in your yard, that's good. That's good news to me. Because that's food for your troops. So, you know, if you're going to have a resident army of predators in your yard, you got to feed them. The dangerous part comes when there's no pests or predators in your yard. That's when you got to worry. And that's what happens after you spray pesticides or what have you, is you clean everything out. And what happens then is the pest life cycle is so much faster than the predators. You put 2 aphids in a room together with lots of food and no predators, you know how many will come out at the end of that season? 1 million. Actually 1 million. Aphids are born pregnant. They're like Chinese boxes. And they're insane how fast they reproduce. because they're like Twinkies. It's just they have to reproduce faster than other critters can eat them. And so, but you have a few of them, and so when they reproduce, the pests reproduce, they're going to produce on an exponential scale. Remember junior high and the exponential line graph going up, the population curve? The pests are slower behind them. And there's a point where if you kill off everything, the pests are gonna start to reach that exponential curve before the predators can catch them, and then you have an outbreak, and then you're in trouble. Then you have to spray again, and that's why spraying chemicals becomes like being hooked on drugs, is because you get addicted to that sense of total cleanliness and sterility. But you have a few pests lying around, which you're always gonna have with natives. Don't worry about that. You know, it's like having a red currant bush. It's one for you, one for the bugs. And that's how it is. That's how it's supposed to be. And aesthetically, there's so much you can do with native plants. I just finished an article on grasses, native grasses. You look outside, even outside this building, outside pretty much any restaurant or boulevard or commercial landscape job built in the past 5 years, you're going to see Carl Forster grass, the big wavy stuff. You're going to see all kinds of that. It's so in vogue right now, which is strange because we live on the prairies. You'd think we'd have enough of it. But it's so popular right now because of all those benefits that it gives.